whole world is mourning after the death of Mother Angelica, and she has inspired so many, she has touched so many globally by bringing the faith around the world, of course, via satellite even. And I know also for those involved in Catholic media, she's been an incredible inspiration. Will you tell us a little bit about the reaction in Rome after the loss of Mother Angelica?
Well, as you know, Mother Angelica died on Easter Sunday. So the most immediate reaction was just this great blessing that it was that she would die. She suffered for almost 15 years after a stroke. She wasn't able to speak. She was bedridden in these last years. So, I mean, she was 92 years old. She lived a very long life. We all die. And there was really this great sense of peace from the people that we spoke to in Birmingham, Alabama, where the headquarters is, and here in Rome, this great sense of blessing. So people in almost across the board, speaking with Vatican officials and other people around Rome, they said that this was a gift. Benedict XVI also said that she died on Easter Sunday was this great gift. Wow. And people also inevitably said, we'll pray for her, but we expect her to pray for us from heaven as well.
Indeed. Isn't that the truth? Yes. Alan, what has it been like for you working for this organization with the tone that Mother Angelica set from the top down?
Well, one telling detail is when I informed Father Lombardi, the Vatican spokesman, the Pope's spokesman, about the mother's death. He said that she always put faith first. She always put faith and love of God first, and this drove her communications. And this really is what EWTN is about. Is really trusting in providence, which was what she always wanted to do herself, was put herself into Jesus' hands, and always said from the beginning, this is the Lord's work. I'm just carrying it out. I'm just His tool here. And that's what we've always felt, walking in her footsteps and doing her work here in Rome, is that we're really just tools in God's hands. And it's been very evident at times. We've also asked for Mother's prayers at times, and things have inevitably, as things do in Rome, as you know, they work out, and things are often more beautiful for the challenges that we often face.
Wow. And what would you say, what's the mark that you think that she has left on Catholic communications?
That's interesting. You know, when she started in 1981, I was just born. I was about 6 months old. And so the Catholic communications that I know is the Catholic communications that was absolutely marked by Mother Angelica and by her generation. You know, I saw a quote, Raymond Arroyo is an EWTN personality. He has his own show, and he also wrote the biography of Mother Angelica. And he would speak about how she was the only woman to start a satellite television organization and lead it for 20 years. Right. And she's just been so incredibly, what do you call it, longeva. She's just been able to withstand the test of time. And her mark on Catholic communications, as far as in the United States, she brought a really strong voice, the voice of the Pope, directly to people where they'd never heard it directly before. She really was able to transmit the core of the Catholic faith to people in a way that they'd never seen it, which was on satellite television.
Oh, and I know I've heard so many personal stories from people whose lives were absolutely changed, conversions to the Catholic faith that they felt they owed from becoming catechized by watching EWTN.
And from the far corners of the globe, because it was on satellite. We've heard those stories as well. It's incredible. The stories of conversion, where she would speak to the camera, she would speak to the television on her live program, but people would feel like they were speaking to them. And she would tell them, you know, go to church, go to the confessional, and people would look at her pointing the finger at the camera and say, she's speaking, are you speaking to me?
Right, and only Mother Angelica could point that finger in such a way, and people fall in love with her at the same time.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Alan, would you tell us a little bit about some of your personal memories of Mother? Tell us about some of the things that, as in your work as the bureau chief here, that's connected you to her.
Well, you know, people, it's like John Paul II, St. John Paul II, people who met Mother Angelica, they all have a story to tell about how that moment somehow changed their lives.
Yes.
Or they remember it down to the last detail. And one of the quotes that I like from her, and one of the quotes that also drives a little bit of my work here, is unless you're willing to do the ridiculous, God isn't able to do the miraculous. And we've pushed from the beginning. This office started EWTN News in Rome through Catholic News Agency 6 years ago, and just with me. And now there are 15 of us. And it's just been this constant, it's trusting in providence and just sort of pushing forward, knowing that things are going to work out, and that our mission is what drives us. We want to save souls. That we want to evangelize in the footsteps of Mother. And this is also the vision of Alejandro Bermudez, who's our executive director. It's just moving forward with providence, trusting in God's plan, and praying to saints. We had the Holy Father this morning at the general audience just told us that Mother is in heaven. That's just an incredible thing to think that she's still there interceding for us, and even in a stronger way now. Wow. If we can imagine that she's in heaven, obviously, exactly. We don't know.
Sure. But that's not the first time that our Holy Father has spoken about Mother Angelica, is it?
Well, I had the opportunity to ask him when we were on the flight to Cuba, on the way to Mexico just a couple of months ago. And I just told him about Mother's situation, that she was very sick and in bed, and she could use some prayers if he had a prayer for her. And he said, yes, I pray for Mother Angelica, and I also ask her to pray for me.
Now, Alan, you spoke about providence before, and certainly we know that at the EWTN headquarters, that's the way they seem to operate. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
It is an interesting fact that EWTN has a monthly budget. They have all kinds of expenses that they need to pay, but they don't have savings after the month is over. They always spend the money that they have. We spend the money that we have. And we work forward on providence, knowing that the next month God will provide. Wow. And that was something that Mother put in place, knowing that she had to put systemically in how EWTN worked things in place to say that we can't not work with providence. If that makes sense.
Yes, most definitely. It's so true. And I know certainly at Shalom World TV, we have just seen the Lord's hand moving throughout. And it's because he wants his word to be spread to the ends of the earth.
That's right.
So when we're faithful, Mother is certainly a true example of being faithful and steadfast. Alan, Mother Angelica suffered for a very long time after her stroke, and it was certainly with an incredible heroism that she did it. Will you tell us a little bit about that suffering and the effect that it's had?
Her life was really full of suffering. Actually, it was a long series of health problems, of personal problems. Her family was very broken. She really is a story of the incredible power of redemptive suffering. She always offered it up. She always said that, God, if this is your will, then let it be. I want to share in your suffering on the cross. And this is also something that really closely unites her story with that of John Paul II.
Yes.
John Paul II, seeing her after an audience in St. Peter's Square, said, Mother Angelica, weak in body, strong in spirit.
Fantastic.
You imagine this character where she always knew that in her moments of greatest suffering, that those were the greatest moments of growth or importance of her work. These are the moments when EWTN grew, when her community of sisters grew.
Really?
And she got to know that in that relationship with Christ, that in her moments, the greatest moments of suffering, there was always some reason for it.
Yes.
And just this week we've heard a story from one of the priests down in Birmingham, Alabama, who's part of this order that she started, who said that on the Passion Friday, on Good Friday, she suffered all the way up. I mean, this is anecdotal, but she suffered at the moment that Christ would have been crucified, around 3 o'clock. She was really suffering, and she was moaning from bed, and then it stopped, and she was in peace through Saturday, and then the day of the resurrection is when she died.
Wow, it's so incredible. Gosh.
Incredible.
And then we look here at her beautiful smiling face, this lovely photo that's accompanying us. Will you tell us a little bit about it?
She smiled at Pope Francis just today.
Oh.
We took this very photo into the general audience, and this is the one that was held up that we asked our executive producer, Marta Calderon, asked the Holy Father from a short distance, would he please bless the soul of Mother Angelica? Would he pray for her? And he did. He gave his apostolic blessing, and then he pointed up towards the heavens and said, "In el cielo," in heaven.
Praise God.
Amazing.
Wow, beautiful. Straight from the Pope's mouth, right,
That's right.
Alan?
That's
Gosh. Well, Alan, thank you so much for being here with us with Voice of the Vatican. Thank you for sharing from your heart these lovely stories about Mother Angelica, who remains an inspiration to us all, and you can count on our prayers from the viewers of Shalom World TV.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It means a lot.